What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest catch-up video. This is where I'm talking about all the films that I saw in November of 2023. They are, of course, 2023 films that I saw in said month. This will be a very quick video. In case you guys are new to my channel, this is where I talk about all the new films that I saw in said month, and I talk very briefly about them before giving you guys my rating. And I go from the very beginning of the month to the end of the month with the movies that I saw. If you want my full in-depth thoughts on these movies, this isn't the video for that, but I will put the link down below for my Letterboxd account where I do talk about these films in depth, some more so than others. But yeah, I'm very excited to give you guys these movies that I saw in this month. And again, I will be curious to see what movies you guys saw in November of 2023 that are, of course, again, 2023 films. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking this off, the beginning of the month, I saw The Nun II. This was a movie I saw on HBO Max. And I'm glad that I waited until on streaming because I did not like this movie. In fact, this is one of the worst movies that I've seen of 2023. I liked it even less so than The First Nun, which The First Nun is a movie that over time I just realized that I went from thinking it was okay to just kind of come to terms that it's really not a good movie. But this was just even more so just not good. This is bottom of the barrel horror, and yeah, did not like it in the slightest. And that's why, for me, The Nun II, I personally will be giving a... And next up, I saw Anatomy of a Fall. This was the film I saw in theaters, and it was a fantastic experience. And the film itself is fantastic. It's a procedural court film that is just really, really good at really delving into these characters and the complexity behind them, as well as really gets us invested on if this character did what they, what people believe that they did. Again, trying to be vague here in case you have or have not seen this film, but it really does a good job of peeling back the layers. And I just really like films like this, and I think that it is a fascinating film. I can't wait to rewatch it already. It's one of my favorite films of the year, which I know is ironic considering that the previous film, The Nun II, is one of the worst movies I saw of the year. But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall is just, it's a fantastic film. I would highly recommend you seek it out. I don't know if it's on streaming just yet, but definitely watch this because I will definitely be picking this up on Blu-ray or 4K. And yeah, Anatomy of a Fall, I personally will be giving a... Next up is Priscilla, which is the latest Sofia Coppola film. I was very much so looking forward to this film because Sofia Coppola, although she's hit or miss for me, I do think that she's a fascinating director. And I have to say, hearing the story, the other side of, of course, Priscilla was married to Elvis, hearing the other point of view after, seeing Baz Luhrmann's adaptation last year was refreshing because I felt Priscilla was not only just a better movie, but it did a really, really good job, I think, of capturing a complex relationship that on the surface, like you think you know the relationship, but it's when you watch the film and you start peeling back the layers, you're like, there was a lot more to it than what we think. And I just think it does a really good job of dissecting it and just showcasing both sides and the flaws of such. It's not going to be a film for everyone because it is glacially paced, but it is a film that is really good in terms of the filmmaking front. I don't know how the rewatchability value with this film will be. Only time will tell. But I do think it's a rock solid film, and it does come recommended. That's why for me, Priscilla, I personally will be giving a... And next up, I saw The Marvels. So The Marvels, I know, has been getting a lot of flack because of its box office. And I don't really have any thoughts about that. It is what it is. The movie itself, I'm kind of disappointed by. I wasn't a fan of it. There were some elements I liked. Like, I do think that the actress that played Miss Marvel was quite good. And of course, Brie Larson is Brie Larson. I do like her. And I think that she is good in the role. And I like the chemistry between the three of them. I think that it is decent. But the movie itself, just as a whole, just really doesn't really add up to much. It feels like standard issue, superhero, generic 101 formula. And it's a shame because I like the director. The director did Candyman, which I do own, and I think that that movie is very underappreciated. I like the director. I do. I just... You can't see her signature style in this film. You really can't. In fact, this movie really doesn't have any personality outside of the three lead actresses. It's a shame. It really is. And it's got one of the most bland villains in a superhero movie I've seen in quite some time. So Not a fan of the Marvels, but at the same time, it's a movie that if you liked it, totally get that. But for me, I was kind of disappointed by it. That's why for me, I'll give it a. And next up, the delightful The Holdovers. So this was a film that is Alexander Payne's latest film, and he is a director that I think is overall a rock solid director. I do greatly admire his work. He's one of those directors though where when I think of his name, I usually think about his writing first and foremost and less so his directing style. But here I thought that it was a really good molding of his directing style with a really strong script. I really like the script. I mean, you could, make arguments that it is quote unquote predictable, but I do think that there are a lot of things that were refreshing with how it was directed. And I also think the performances are fantastic. You best believe there will be some Oscar nominations spread around the actors. They are that good. The humor works, the drama works. It is a film that is a tightrope of drama and comedy, and it works excellently. Love the filmic cinematography, really makes you feel like, it's a throwback film. And in a lot of ways it is. It's a film though that I can't wait to rewatch many more times because this is bound to be a future holiday classic, and it is one of my favorite films of the year. And that's why for me, The Holdovers, I'll personally be giving a. And next up, we have Nyad, which stars Annette Bening and Jodie Foster, two actresses that I greatly admire. I really like both of them. This movie, the true life story, I'm sure is quite fascinating, but this movie itself is pretty generic. It's biopic 101. It's a very middle of the road movie, at least that's how I felt. But it's also at the same time a movie that when it ended, I said to myself, I can see why some people will watch this and be really inspired by this movie. I can definitely see that. It's got really good lead performance by Annette Bening. She's good, and I think the supporting role of Jodie Foster is quite good. And I do think that they have really good chemistry together. You can definitely feel that palpable friendship that these two have. So it's really good acting on those two fronts. But everything else just kind of bleeds into the background, so to speak. There's nothing really that stands out for me personally. So I felt middle of the road about this movie, but again, I can definitely see it being a hit for audiences. I mean, it is a very crowd pleasing, rousing type movie, so I get it. But for me, Nyad, I'll personally be giving a. And next up, I skipped out on this in theaters, and that is Blue Beetle. It is if I'm not mistaken, it's a DCEU movie. I'll put it to you this way: this movie is similar to the Marvels. It's a movie that, whilst I wasn't a fan of how generic it was, I can see there being an audience for this particular movie. Blue Beetle in particular, I really did like how it had the diverse cast. I thought that was something that was refreshing, especially in the superhero genre. But there wasn't really much else that stood out for me. Watching it was a very passive experience. I really didn't find myself to be emotionally attached to anything that was going on, which is a shame because I do like the lead actor. I mean, he is in the TV show Cobra Kai, which I do enjoy, and I am glad that he is getting a lead role. But just this movie itself, it's very and that's why for me, I'm giving this movie an extra half a star than what I would have given it. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy Blue Beetle, totally get that. That's okay. For me, pretty middle of the road, pretty average. That's why I'll be giving Blue Beetle a. Next up, we have Haunting in Venice. This is Kenneth Branagan's latest directorial effort of this series, and whilst it is better than was it Death in Denial, Death of a Nile, whatever, the mustache prequel movie of this mystery series, it's better than that for sure. But this movie just really, unfortunately, wastes its talented cast. The mystery itself is kind of whatever. It's a very, very, very dull experience, unfortunately. I wanted to like this movie. I really did. I mean, a horror mystery. I mean, that's something that sounds fascinating, but the execution itself is very bland. Kind of curious if they're gonna make a fourth entry. I am because as it stands, I felt like this movie ended on a whimper. But what do I know? It seems like audiences enjoyed this movie, so I can see the appeal. I suppose. I wish that appeal was something that I was able to grasp onto, but alas, it's a horror mystery that is neither mysterious enough to be engaging nor horrifying enough to also be engaging. It's just very eh. I was disappointed by it, and that's why for me, A Haunting Venice, I'll be giving a. And next up, we have Thanksgiving, which is the latest Eli Roth movie. I haven't seen too many Eli Roth movies, truthfully. Death Wish, I know it's a hot take, but I actually did quite enjoy that movie. And I went into Thanksgiving with an open mind because I feel like we don't really have too many horror movies that take place on Thanksgiving. And I gotta say, this was a diverting movie that it reminded me a lot of the Scream movies, where in the moment you're enjoying it, but as the movie progresses and by the time you get to the third act, you start to realize that maybe the twist isn't something that is that good. And unfortunately, Thanksgiving, despite enjoying it quite a bit, I really do not think the twist works at all. No spoilers, but it's one of those twists where it's like, no, that's based on the world that you created and based on these characters with where they were during certain times. There's no way that this is how it happened. Again, trying to be vague with the twist, but it's just something that really grinded my gears. I probably would have given this a lot higher of a rating if it wasn't for the twist where I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. This is no, no, that's not good. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed Thanksgiving. I can definitely see why many people are also digging it. It's a very fun movie. And yeah, for me, Thanksgiving, I'll personally be giving a. Next up, we have The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. This is a movie that is fascinating in that the first half I actually was quite engaged. I thought it brought up some interesting ideas, themes, and messages. I like the lead performance. Rachel Zegler is really good. I've known that since West Side Story, though. She's a very talented actress. Um, Tom Blythe, I think he's the one that plays President Snow, or soon to be President Snow. He's good too. But unfortunately, this movie feels like two different movies that, yes, it's nice to get two movies for the price of one, but both movies don't really feel fully developed, so to speak. This is a nearly, what is it, 2.5 hour movie, and unfortunately, the second half in particular really drags. There are some things, nuggets of ideas spread throughout both halves that just unfortunately never fully formed. This is a movie that I wanted to like, I really did, but unfortunately, I just felt rather middle of the road. I've heard some people say that it's one of the best in the series, and I can see that. I definitely can, and I did like it better than the Mockingjay movies, but unfortunately, Francis Lawrence directing just was something that really kind of left me cold. And that's why, for me, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, I'll personally be giving a generous. Next up, we have Saltburn, which is the same director that Promised Young Woman. So, of course, I was very, very curious about this film. And I will say this overall, I liked this film. I did. My rating, you might not think that I enjoyed it, but it's because I had some issues with this movie on first viewing. But that being said, I can definitely see this movie growing on me even more so, especially now knowing the twist and how it ends. Because it goes like this: the first act, I was fascinated. The second act, I kind of got lost in the sauce, so to speak, where it was like, oh, these characters are doing this. Okay, this is interesting, but it's kind of meandering. And then the third act, I regained that interest and I was fascinated by the third act, in particular, the last 10 minutes with what the lead character does. It's something, man. It really is. Basically, me on a Saturday night. But I liked Saltburn. I really did. I'm looking forward to rewatching it at some point in time because, like I said, I can see this movie growing on me over time. Beautiful, beautiful cinematography, great performances, and yeah, for me, Saltburn, I'll personally be giving a. Next up, we have Napoleon. This was a movie that I was greatly looking forward to. In fact, so much so it made my top 10 most anticipated films of 2023. I'm a big fan of Ridley Scott. I think that, yes, he does have some misses in his filmography, but he's always taken swings for the fence, and I really greatly admire that. And here, Napoleon is a movie that I'll put it to you this way. I'm going to keep this short, in particular with this movie. It's got some interesting filmmaking, but at the end of the day, this is a movie that is very, very obvious that it is a 4 hour movie that got cut down to 2.5 hours. So you cut out 90 minutes of a movie, there's going to be some editing issues. There's going to be some pacing issues. There's going to be some storytelling issues. And yeah, all those things do crop up in this movie. I'm looking forward to the 4 hour cut. I do think that it will fix a lot of the issues. But again, we'll only know once that cut actually, comes out. For now, Napoleon, it's all right. Don't really have much more thoughts about it. Just wish that we got that 4 hour cut in theaters, but here we are. So for me, Napoleon, I personally will be giving a. And last but not least, this was a nice surprise. Next up is American Fiction. So American Fiction was a film that I was looking forward to watching in December. It was coming out December 22nd, but I saw that AMC has this new program, AMC Screen on Screen, where basically they have a movie that they're going to be playing on Monday nights. You have no clue what the movie's about, title, none of that. All you have is the MPA rating and the runtime. And thankfully, because I've always been focused on the MPA ratings and times of films, it was very immediate right away that this was going to be American Fiction, and so I knew I had to watch this because I was going to be like almost a month early to see this. And I gotta say, American Fiction, when it comes out in December, you best believe you should check it out because this is a film that is going to work really well with audiences. It's another film that's similar to The Holdovers, balances comedy and drama seamlessly. It works really, really well. The filmmaking itself does kind of feel standard issue, but the characters, the strong storytelling, the sense of comedy and drama weaving together in a way that makes for an investing experience, I mean, it makes it worth it. So overall, I liked American Fiction quite a bit, and that's why for me, I'll personally be giving a. But hey guys, that is my November 2023 movies catch-up video. Once again, let me know which, 2023 movies you saw in November of 2023. Very curious to see what you guys have to say on what you've seen. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're almost at the end of the year. I'm looking forward to see what films come out in December. And guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Hit the subscription, notification bell, follow me down Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.